Well, hello there and welcome back. English now? Yes, English, and there's a fairly good reason for this. This new project, a 1969 Volvo P1800, belongs to a very good friend of mine, Joris van der Nispen from Holland. In order for him to understand what I'm doing to his car, of course I'm going to have to do it in English. And I'm also thinking there might be a few people outside of Sweden that might take some interest in this. So what am I going to do? Joris bought it in Holland a few years back, but it was imported from California to Holland. I think he is the second owner in Holland. For some reason or another, the original engine has gone missing and it has been replaced by a standard Volvo B20. Now that means at the most 82 brake horsepower, and that doesn't really add up with the rest of the car. So Joris has asked me to build him a new engine, which is what I'm going to do. So the scope of this series is to show you how you can build a moderately worked over B20 at home, and we're aiming at something like 130 brake horsepower. So here goes. Here I am waiting for my good friend Joris from Holland. I'm not so sure I pronounce his name right. We've actually only met once, the one time. What is it, 2 years ago? I had COVID at the time, so he was here, but I was inside waiting for him, or actually just watching him do some stuff out here. But now he is on his way with his Volvo P1800, which should be arriving over there someplace pretty soon. And as I've already said, the main objective of him coming here is the fact that I have built him a brand new engine, a B20 Sport, if you will, to replace the engine in his P1800 is kind of sort of lacking in the power department. So, him being the good sport that it is, he drove all the way from Holland up to my house in the north of Sweden. It has been a 3-day drive, I believe. And he should be coming around that bend pretty soon, unless he actually managed to crash the car the last kilometer or so. Hopefully not. And that's the sound I recognize. That is a Volvo. Here he comes. 3 days of driving from Holland all the way up to the north of Sweden. Well, right you are, sir.
Mr. Söderin.
Welcome. Been a while.
I made it.
Yeah. Car in one piece, you in one piece.
In one piece.
Yeah.
And she especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This looks good, man.
Yeah.
This car I have only seen in pictures before.
Yeah. No, I'm really happy with this. And I learned a lot about it on this trip for 2,000 kilometers.
2,000 kilometers.
Yeah, in 3 days.
3 days, that's what I figured. Yeah. Wow, look at this. What a dream car.
Yeah, it's pretty good. A few spots there.
Well,
but
nothing much. Nothing much.
I can open the door for you if you want.
Oh well. I'll manage. There we go.
You see what I'm working at? Interior?
Oh, okay. Oh, so you drove like this all the way, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Headphones?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I have these little things that I use for bass playing.
Ah.
They're very handy.
Right. Super nice.
Well, you don't get tired if you cover your ears.
Yeah.
So, no, it was a relaxed drive, and I finally understood what Mr. Patterson designed here.
Oh, nice. It only took 3 days of driving, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
It's fantastic driving this in Sweden, countries like Sweden.
Yeah.
Like the United States.
Oh, because you drove in the countryside too, didn't you?
Yeah, Inlandsvägen all the time.
Inlandsvägen.
Yeah.
That's the one.
18, 19 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
It's GT all over.
I know.
So.
International man of mystery, you know, like this is like the James Bond kind of thing. If James Bond was Swedish, he would be driving this. Or actually,
but that is the wrong color.
how can British racing green be the wrong color, man?
Yeah, for me, it's the only color.
Yeah.
I mean, all my cars are, and my clothes and everything is 94.
For me, it looks so exclusive. It looks so right and green. Anyhow,
I love it.
Most welcome. Let's go out for beers and burgers.
Yeah, okay.
And wouldn't you know it, the P1800 actually was good enough for James Bond. Well, or at least Roger Moore when he played Simon Templar, also nicknamed the Saint in the TV series by the same name. So why on earth did British superstar Roger Moore not drive a British sports car in this British TV series? Well, story has it, the producers wanted him to drive a Jaguar E-Type and they waited months, but Jaguar did not deliver. Then they talked to a Volvo dealer in London and he delivered a P1800 that same week. Now this little mishap for Jaguar ended up being Volvo's greatest PR coupe ever. The TV series The Saint was produced in over 100 episodes between 1962 and 1969. By the mid-60s, that series had sold to 79 countries and had something like almost 400 million viewers. But let's go back to the starting point of it all. One could actually successfully argue that without the Corvette, there would not be a Volvo P1800. Because in 1953, Assar Gabrielsson, Volvo's co-founder and vice president, visited the General Motors factory in Flint, Michigan, where he saw the first generation Chevrolet Corvette being put into production. What he saw there inspired him enough to go back home with a vision. He wanted to build a Volvo sports car. The outcome of this trip was the glass fiber-bodied Volvo Sport, also known as the P1900. It was built on a tubular chassis using off-the-shelf components from the Volvo PV444. Now, the first 19 bodies were built by Glass Part Company in California and the rest by Volvo themselves. Now, this being a Volvo, you might think that it would be a typical Volvo, meaning kind of sturdy, maybe a little bit boring, but the quality would be unmatched. No, as a matter of fact, they were falling to pieces. When Gunnar Engellau, the new president who replaced Gabrielsson in 1956, took one for a drive during his holiday, he came back saying, "I thought it would fall apart." But despite this failure, Gunnar wanted his sports car, so now Volvo turned to Italian design house Frua. However, it soon turned out that this beautiful Italian design was not Italian at all. The designer was in fact young Swedish Pelle Pettersson, whom had been collaborating with Italian Pietro Frua. Gunnar himself was furious, and Volvo did not acknowledge Pelle Pettersson as the designer until quite recently. This new sports car was based on the Volvo Amazon 122S, but Volvo persisted in not building the bodies themselves, and having looked all over Europe, they unfortunately ended up with Jensen in England. Production started in 1961, but it only took a couple of years before Volvo realized that the Brits were not able to keep up to the Swedish standards. So from April 1963, the P1800 became an all-Swedish affair. So from then on, the P1800 became the P1800S, where the S obviously stands for Sweden. In 1965, Volvo came to the conclusion that they might need another body style in order to make the P1800 appeal to a wider audience. This time, Volvo turned to one of their own, in-house designer Jan Vilsgaard, and he turned the P1800 into a station wagon. With this extended roof and a rear glass door, the P1800 ES became quite a hit in the US. And yes, there is a whole lot more to be said about the P1800, but we're going to get back to that in a later episode. For now, let's move on to the example at hand. So here we are, taking a little bit of a test spin in Joris's 1969 P1800S. A beautiful car that was originally sold brand new in California, then imported to Holland a few years ago, where the owner between Joris and whoever sold it in California actually used it for some rally events of some kind, and that's where the original engine disappeared. All in all, I would say this is a car in great condition, but it is kind of sort of lacking in power since it now has a B20A out of an old Amazon underneath the hood. But it drives nice, straight and true, and well, you can tell this is going to be a very nice car with an added 30 or 40 horsepower. On my recommendations, Joris has already installed a brand new stainless steel exhaust system, so it will be just a little bit louder than a stock P1800, but it will just be like sort of a sporty note, and I think it's a sound that will suit the car perfectly. And even though I'm currently driving with a mere 82 brake horsepower, at least that's what it used to have, that is still quite a torquey little thing. I'm thinking this is just because it's geared right. I mean, yeah, there you go. So this will be the first time I have a peek underneath the car. As for the front suspension, a few parts have been changed. Lower ball joint on this side, the front shocks. It's got new calipers. The B20 is leaking, not profoundly, but enough to give the car a good coating underneath, rust protection, if you will, which is not really needed. This is a California car, and as such a true survivor. As you can see, there is very, very little to worry about here. I can understand why yours is happy with the car. It's going to be, and it already is, a very nice daily driver. He did change the exhaust system down in Holland. This is a Siemens stainless steel 2-inch system, which I believe is exactly the same as the original specs. Either way, it's going to work just fine for this engine. So, time to start taking the engine out. The car was a little bit difficult to drive, and I blame this homemade solution. And this was not made by Yotis. I want to be perfectly clear about this. This was made by the previous owner. It is a piece of tack iron and a wire that I think came from a bicycle. It's not even a proper wire. And it's not really, as you can see, it's not even firmly fixed. So this I will not use again for obvious reasons, because it doesn't even fit the proper manifold. But, well, just wanted to show you, not a very good solution. So that's the carb and the intake gone. Moving on. There's a couple of bolts I'm gonna try and show you on the top here on the back of the bell housing. These can be very tricky to get to on some Volvos because there's not a whole lot of space, and you have to access them from below with a long ass extension. Sorry, a very long extension. But on the P1800, there's quite a bit of room. So there it is. One big oily lump out of the engine bay. I don't know anything about this engine apart from that it's a B20A, an early version with the old style cylinder head. Seems they changed the water pump sometime quite recently though. And I know for a fact that yours changed the fuel pump, so we're gonna reuse that one because that's only got like a year or so on it. As for the engine bay, it looks okay. Mostly just dirty. Mostly original paint. They've done some work to the battery tray. But apart from that, you know, it's a daily driver, basically. I'm gonna clean it up a bit, and I think that's just gonna have to do. It will look nice. And speaking of nice, these are the plans for the new engine. So I'm gonna walk you through what we're gonna use to build a new motor for Yotis's P1800. This will be a replacement, very similar to what the car originally had. It will be a B20. Here's the engine block. It has been bored out 30 over. It has been decked and also line honed. It has new cam bearings, and it is, you know, fully machined. Moving on, I'm going to be using this crank, a polished 8-bolt crank, late B20. There you go. Those are the pistons, a set of Male 30 over. The cylinder head is a late B20 head that has been ported and polished. A fairly mild job. Valve size is 3846, a bit on the large side, but the idea here being that yours is going to be able to upgrade to a set of Weber DCOE 40s or the Lordos. The camshaft is a Nils Hedlund profile NH48. This is a classic camshaft. It's I've had it made off of an original camshaft. So this is the shell cast camshaft core out of like 1971, 1972 Volvo. Excellent stuff. They you know, can't really get camshafts like this these days unless you pay a lot of money. Anyway, it's NH48. It has 275 duration, 7.75 millimeters lift at 107 degrees lobe separation. So that's a little bit more of a cam than the K profile out of the B20B. So it's gonna work fine for street use with these carbs. Stromberg 175s out of an army vehicle here in Sweden. This incidentally happens to be the same setup as the P1800 had when it left the factory. A lot of people don't know that Volvo actually used twin Stromberg 175s for cars. They were found in army vehicles and marine applications as well. So that was a bit of a lucky find. I'm going to be port matching this intake on the intake side to make sure it matches the cylinder head. We're going to be using these covers with modern style seals. an oil pan, oil filters, new water pump, a lot of gaskets, reconditioned flywheel, and a disty out of a, or distributor, out of a B20 B circa 1972 077. And that pretty much sums up all the parts we're going to be using. So that's it for this first episode. Over the next few episodes, I'm going to show you how to build that engine, and we're going to install it in the P1800, take it for a test spin before yours flies back up here to drive it all the way home to Holland again. Now, I hope you like this. Feel free to comment, and please like and subscribe. And as always, I will answer all comments, whether it's English or Swedish, doesn't really matter. But I hope you're patient with me, because I have a day job still. I wish I could do this full time, hint, hint. But until next time, take care. See ya.